Hello, we are going to take you to the Thai island of Koh Lipe, which is located 40 kilometres to the west of the Thai and Malaysian mainland.
Now, the only way to get there is by boat. And in this video, we're going to give you the different options that are available to you to get there. And we're also going to give you a detailed account of the way we got there, which was from Langkawi to Koh Lipe by ferry.
I'm John.
And I'm Lou of Independent Travel Reviews. So we went from Langkawi to Koh Lipe, and we did that for several reasons. Firstly, we wanted to stay on Langkawi and spend some time there. And secondly, it is the shortest ferry crossing to get to Koh Lipe. And thirdly, it was very easy to fly into Langkawi, transfer to the harbour and get the boat.
So we're going to give you a detailed review of that option, but there are other alternatives available if Langkawi doesn't work for you. So the other main option is to get a ferry from a place called Bara, which is on the Thai mainland, and that's commonly used for people who are transferring via Hat Yai. And the final alternative is to get a ferry from Phuket, which is quite a lot longer, but it does work for you if you have been on Phuket, of course.
Hi, we've arrived at Telega Harbour Marina to catch the boat over to Koh Lipe. Now, we've read a few things that this is all quite not organised and not very good, but our impression so far, we arrived, it was clear, you went up to the kiosk, we had a bit of paper that we had to hand in to get our ticket, so we handed it in. He gave us another piece of paper back and he looked at our passports. We then went around the other side of the building where we handed the piece of paper he gave us, and they gave us these boarding passes. And so we have a boarding pass. We have to keep the piece of paper that he gave us for the return. And we also had to fill in an arrival card, but we'll show you that in a photo. I had it down that our boat was at 2:30. They're saying it is at 2, so I'm quite glad we did get here an hour early. They've said it's not full, it's nearly full, but we've got our passports back, which someone said you don't, but we have our passports. So far so good. I'm quite happy. Let's see what happens. So there is a sign that says they will take the passports off you as you board the boat, so we'll let you know if that happens. We also were told that between November and March it does get very busy, so it is best to book in advance and not just turn up on the day. And also in the summer months it sometimes doesn't run, or it doesn't run in the summer months.
Yeah, so the boarding process started at 2 o'clock Malaysian time. There's quite a long queue. You queue to get through Malaysian immigration. They are very strict, as I discovered, about filming, so there is an absolutely no filming policy. You have to have your passport stamped because you're leaving Malaysia, and they then take your passports off you. You carry your own luggage onto the boat. The boat is air conditioned. You put your luggage in a kind of holding area. Everybody on our boat got a seat, didn't they? And there were a few, it wasn't completely full, there was a few spare seats. And we set off a little bit late.
So that took about half an hour to get onto the boat. From being called, it took half an hour to get onto the boat, and then we got on the boat, and the boat trip itself was about an hour and 15 minutes, and it was really smooth and felt fine. So we had a really good journey.
Yeah, but the sea was very flat. There was hardly any wind. There was a couple of little bumps, so I could imagine if there was more of a swell, then you might get a little bit more movement on the boat, but it was absolutely fine for us. And you then arrive at
Koh Lipe,
Pattaya
Pattaya Bay.
they moor the boat in the bay, and you then get a long-tail boat transfer to a floating pontoon, which is quite entertaining. And you don't have to bring your own bags off; they bring your bags off for you. It's a bit unsteady, isn't it? Particularly getting off the long-tail boat onto the pontoon.
The long-tail boat's only literally a couple of minutes, and then you get off on this floating kind of bridge, pontoon, pier, whatever, and it is unsteady on your feet, and a lady in front of me fell over getting off the boat, so it is a little bit unsteady, but it was fine.
And you then have to go to the Thai immigration, which is like no immigration you've probably seen before. So it's like there's a roofed area where you can stand out of the sun or sit out of the sun.
It's right on the beach.
It's right on the beach. We'll show you pictures of it. They bring your luggage in another long-tail boat and just dump it on the beach, and you go and collect your luggage. But they then get the passports out of a kind of a waterproof bag, and they just call you one by one. And you then get your passport, and you have to then go and queue up at Thai immigration. Now, it probably took us about half an hour, I suppose, to be called, something like that, and we were probably about halfway through the list of people. So you need to allow probably an hour from arriving at Koh Lipe, potentially, to actually getting your passport. You then have to go to a little booth where you pay, I think it was 200 baht per person in cash,
yes.
Which is the kind of national park fee, and they give you a little ticket, and supposedly at some point you might have to show that, although we haven't had to show it yet. And that's it. That's the kind of arrival process. You need to bear in mind that Thailand is an hour behind Malaysia. So Malaysia is 8 hours ahead of GMT. Thailand is only 7. So you kind of gain an hour when you arrive into Thailand. So the whole process from checking in to getting your bags and getting your passport and being free to move around Koh Lipe was probably about 3.5 to 4 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it took us 3 hours. Okay, so we have just got back from Koh Lipe and we're back in Langkawi.
So the journey back was a kind of reverse, really, of the journey here. So you're advised to check in an hour and a half before. Now the reason for that is because you have to undergo the immigration formalities to leave Thailand. So you have to have your fingerprint scanned and your passport stamped, and they then take your passports off you again, just as they did on the way over.
But just before that, he's missed a bit. Before you get to the immigration, you need the white piece of paper with your ticket confirmation on, that they give you when you book into Langkawi, that they tell you to keep it. So you've got that in your passports. You go up to counter number 1, you show them that.
Which is the only counter.
No, there are 2. Counter number 1, and they take that white piece of paper away. They have a look at your passports. They give you back your passports, and then they give you your ticket, which said 2 adults on the return leg. And they also then give you a boarding card, which we'll explain in a minute. But they gave us 2 cards. I was yellow 55 and John was yellow 56. Now, when you've done that, you then go up to the immigration counter, as John said.
Well, there you go. I stand corrected. You dump your bags literally in the middle of the beach.
Yeah, by a sign that says Langkawi.
And you then basically go and wait. If we waited in a little kind of cafe right next, because we were right by our hotel, so we waited in a cafe in the shade and had a drink. And
yes,
you could hear it when they started to call the...
What happens is you're at the immigration place, but you have to... The boat arrives, and obviously all the people coming in need to get off and go there and go through immigration. So when you've checked in, they move you about 20 metres, if that, up the beach to where you board. So they move you out quite quickly. So a lot of people just sit there kind of hot and bothered, waiting for about another hour before they get on the boat. The boat's ready for them to get on. So yes, what John was saying is right next door to that are several cafes. So be savvy, go in, sit in the shade, get yourself a drink, and you can clearly see when they shout for you to board. And a man comes along and he basically calls you in number. So yellow, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it was our turn, 55, 56, and you hand in your ticket to him. You walk down the plastic pier, you get on the long-tail boat. The long-tail boat takes you over to the ferry speedboat, and then you get on, and your luggage comes separately.
And yeah, getting on the ferry from the long-tail boat is quite an experience in itself.
It's a step up, but
you don't have to carry your bags; they carry your bags for you. And then yeah, there's kind of like an upper and a lower deck on the ferry. This time we sat on the lower deck, and it's exactly the same. The sea was very calm, and it was a really smooth journey. Took about an hour and 10 minutes, I suppose.
Yeah, so both our journeys were on really calm, flat seas. So all I can say was it was lovely. We weren't at all scared. There was no big bumps. It was just a really smooth ride. And then we got back to Langkawi, and within 5 minutes we were allowed off the boat. And what they'd done is they'd just taken your cases literally outside the door of the ferry. Then they let the passengers off. So as soon as you got off the ferry, you saw your case, you grabbed it, you went up to the immigration place. Do you want to speak?
Story of my life, really. So the thing to note is that you have to pre-register for Malaysian immigration as of the 1st of January 2024. It's a little online form, takes about 2 minutes to do, and you show the email that you get back to the immigration officer, and you then scan your fingerprints, and they stamp your passport, and that's it, you're good to go. I would say if you got off the boat last, I'm guessing you'd probably be looking at between maybe 30 and 40 minutes kind of delay, but we were off relatively quickly, and yeah, it was a pretty...
We were out the other side in 20 minutes, and you called a grab as we were leaving, and he appeared within 20 seconds.
Yeah, so it was all pretty seamless. Now, one thing we would say is, obviously we have done and reviewed the Langkawi to Koh Lipe ferry.
That route, yeah.
Which and we think this is a good option to choose. If you do want to go to Bara, which is on the Thai mainland, the advantage you have is you don't have to undergo the Thai to Malaysian immigration formality, so that does probably make that a bit simpler and speeds that up a little bit. But anecdotally, the speedboats that they use on that route are not as comfortable. However, our host at the hotel that we stayed at did give us a recommendation to use this speedboat company. He says that he thinks that they travel a little bit more slowly, so it's a little bit more comfortable. He says he thinks they're not as packed. So just to give you an idea, the transfer one way between Koh Lipe and the mainland, he says, is between 500 and 600 baht one way.
Sorry, who was that with?
That's with a different speedboat company if you're going to the mainland.
Well, what was the name of the speedboat company?
That's shown on the screen now. That's okay. I can't remember, sorry. But hopefully that's helpful. So if you do need to go to the Thai mainland, that may be a good option for you. Anyway, we hope you found this useful.
And a bit long-winded and interesting anyway, but that's the transportation from Langkawi to Koh Lipe and back again.